June. 그 정도 맛은 다 있지. Yes, up here to your right, we would be seeing the glacier on a clear day. But you see ahead of us here how low the clouds are lying. And here in this area we have many farms where you can rent horses for 2 hours, 4 hours, a whole day, or even week-long tours on the horseback. As I say, no ponies. And one thing about the Icelandic horse, it has never been our mission to breed them such that they all look the same, that the colors will be the same. And they say that the colors and color combinations of the horse are over 200. And I always say, look at that white horse out there to the right. Oh, you mean the gray one? Okay, there's a brown horse there. No, you mean the red one. Okay, but that black one. No, it's a brown one. So I never dare to go into the details of the colors of the horses. But here, Geysirhestar, and in the summer we have a 40-50 horses here inside the fence. But one thing the farmers don't want us to do, they don't want us to feed them. We've had so many horses dying because of constipation. And when they've been opened to see what caused the constipation, their stomachs were filled with Mars, Bounty, Snickers, and even with the wrappers. People just don't think, they just give them something to eat. But out here to the right, there is a place where we have the farmer on the farm up here to the right. He has put 3 of his horses out, and we can pet them, take photos of us with them, and we can feed them. And the Icelandic horse is very often kept outside all winter, and the hair gets longer, thicker, and they all know how to behave in bad weather. They will all turn their rumps, their behinds, into the wind to get the cold of the rain, snow and wind onto the parts of the body where we don't have the most vital organs, the lungs and the heart. Here we are driving onto a single lane bridge, and those single lane bridges in Iceland, we have a few hundred of them in the country still, and some people seem to think they are Formula One racetracks, because I'm going to be the first across, and then we have frontal collisions and all kinds of fatal accidents. So my rule is, and my saying is, relax. Relax, baby. You're not in a hurry. And out here to the left we have the clubhouse, and there's a golf course out here. One of the 67 golf courses we have in Iceland. 67. So, is that something? Yes, that's a lot. We have one golf course for every 5,500 people. In the US, we have one golf course for every 50,000 people. In Scotland, we have one for every 2 people. Now, straight ahead, the steam up here to the right. You see the steam coming up. Farthest to the right, we have the old geyser, then Blesi, and then where all the people are gathered around, we have Strokur. And I'm thinking of pressing my remote button to see if we can tempt Strokur into giving us a farewell spurt. Sometimes I wish I had a remote button. And for the northern lights as well. But he's not going to do anything for us. Strokur. He's getting tired. It's been snowing too much today. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. And here in Iceland, I mean, Christmas time is coming. And one thing about Iceland, we have 13 Yule lads, 13 Christmas lads. Most of you have only one, Santa Claus. We have 13, and they come to the homes, to the farms, the last 13 days, 13 nights before Christmas. And we put a shoe in the window, and in the morning we go to see what the lads have given us. If we have behaved, we'll get some little nice thing. If we didn't behave the day before, we'll get a raw potato. And these 13 lads, they are the sons of Grýla and Leppalúði. Grýla is a witch, and she has a cauldron in which she cooks naughty children. And her husband, Leppalúði, well, we were always threatened by Grýla when I was young. And she has a husband, Leppalúði. He's a good for nothing, only eats and sleeps. They have a black cat, the Christmas cat, and that Christmas cat will take you if you don't get a piece of clothing for Christmas. And you can see the Christmas cat downtown in the city center. The cat with the red eyes and big black fangs. And those guys, those Yule lads, They were just naughty, mischievous boys. They would come to the farms, they would slam doors, peep in through the windows, even up women's skirts. They would steal milk, skyr, meat, sausages, even candles. The candles in the old days, they were not made of wax, made of fat, lard, and you could even eat them. And they were dressed in their brown, yeah, just like my sweater. Just like my sweater, brown, grey, dark. But then, in World War II, we had the British troops, and they brought with them a guy dressed in red, and he was nice to the kids. So our lads, okay, we need to adapt to new times, new customs, so they would buy something red to decorate their clothes with and start bringing the kids small gifts. And that's since then that we have the shoes in the window. And a few years back, 7 years ago, my wife and I were talking to our son and his Danish wife about Christmas traditions in Iceland and Denmark, and we mentioned the shoe in the window. And he said, yes, I remember that. I remember the potato. Oh. Yes, and I even remember why I got the potato. Okay. And his mom said, yes, I remember now. You didn't want to throw it away. You went to school. When you came back, you had the solution. Mom, I know what we can do with the potato. We can cook it, and I can eat it. And we were discussing this, my wife and I, and just, whoa. We thought he'd forget about the potato very quickly. He was 9 years old when this happened, and for 25 years he'd been traumatized by the potatoes. And his younger brother never had a potato, and his older sister neither. And he only got the potato once. And we, the grown-ups, we even do this. We put the shoes in the window the night on the evening of the 23rd. And our most holy day is the 24th. We have our celebrations in the evening of the 24th. Then we have the festive dinner, and we open the packages, the gifts. And then on the 25th, we just relax. Eat leftovers or smoked meat or whatever we have. And on the 26th, the second day of Christmas, we'll go to meet the family. We don't have the sales open on the 26th. I remember when we were living in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and on the 26th we went out just to celebrate, and everything was open and packed with people. And we had the winter sales then. I mentioned just a little about the financial crisis in 2008. We had this global crisis, and here it hit Iceland, extremely hard because our banks had been allowed to expand exponentially, just unbelievably, and they had been borrowing money all over the world. And then in 2008, when we had the crisis, the global crisis, those banks, Goldman Sachs, Lehman Brothers, Dresdner Bank, and what have we, Danske Bank, they would say, okay, now we need our money back. Oops, we can't pay them back. Why not? We've invested so much in all kinds of businesses and buildings and things. Well, now you have to pay. And the state, the Icelandic government, was even asked if it would pay them out, bail them out, and they considered it for a few hours, and then they said, oh no, if we bail them out, the Icelandic state will go bankrupt, and it was better to let the banks go bankrupt. And overnight, on October 6th, 2008, everything vanished. Savings, stocks, bonds, and the ordinary Joe, did we feel it? Oh yes. Inflation skyrocketed. The exchange rate of the Icelandic krona became very unfavorable to Icelanders studying abroad, so many had to give up studies, come back home. But the exchange rate became good to foreigners, those who wanted to visit Iceland, and tourists started flocking to Iceland. And as I said earlier this morning, 2010 and 11 saw this extreme rise, this increase in tourists in Iceland. But the crisis, did the ordinary Joe feel it? Oh yes. We lost a lot of things. My family, we lost over $200,000. And as an example, in May 2008, I had to pay 35,000 Icelandic krona as a down payment on my car. In November, it had trebled, 105,000. Doesn't matter how much it is, just that it had trebled in half a year. And many people lost their cars, their homes, their hopes, and their lives. Many people couldn't cope with it. My wife and I, we were both employed by the state, both teachers, so we kept our jobs. So we managed. And those who were responsible, we took them to court. And they were sentenced to do jail time, and they had to spend 2 years in jail. And 2 years in jail, not much, but it is something. The Icelandic government was the only, Iceland was the only country in the world where those responsible for the financial crisis were held responsible. And out here, lots of summer houses again. And after the financial crisis, many farmers stopped breeding animals and started breeding tourists. They changed their stalls and barns into rooms and flats for tourists. And up ahead on the right hand side we have a farm Efstedalur, where the farmer, they took it all the way. They divided their cow shed into two with a glass wall, On one side they have the cattle, the cows, and on the other side the restaurant. And everything they serve in that restaurant is local produce. You see the steam coming up here out to the left. The farmer there, he has greenhouses where he grows tomatoes and cucumbers, and they serve that in the restaurant in Efstadalur. And he also sells water to the owners of the summer houses and other farmers in the area. So he gets some dividends from his land. And Efstadalur, that farm is up here to the right, on the right hand side of the road. And the fish from the rivers and lakes in the area, and the meat from the area, the lamb, the pork, the beef. Why do we call it a pork? Why not just pig? Why do we call it mutton?